Alright, what's going on, guys? So today we're going to do the Burp Suite Intruder box. I actually really like this box. I think they did a good job, and I think it kind of actually shows you real use cases for this. So without further ado, let's get started. This is a continuation of our junior pen testing boxes and the Burp Suite learning path as well. So this is just telling us to deploy the machine. Perfect. Okay, so what is Intruder? I'm not so much worried about if you know what Intruder is because you can read this the same as anyone else. But I want you to know this difference between intruder and repeater. That's important to me since the last one we did was repeater. So repeater, basically, you can go in there and you can change a packet request, right? You can do the same thing with intruder, but the difference is intruder will allow you to use like a word list to change username in the request and just keep changing it and sending it over and over and over and over. Where repeater, you'd have to manually hit enter or start, hit or forward or whatever. You know, you'd have to keep doing it as you change the password. Intruder will actually let you choose a payload or a word list and forward those packets on, trying one at a time. So it's more useful for like brute forcing and things like that, or wordless attacks, anything like that. So and we're going to show you guys a couple examples, but it's important that you guys know some of these and have seen these. So first one here, when we open up Intruder, if you haven't submitted a packet from proxy, meaning I didn't forward a request on using Control-I, then this is what it's going to look like. You notice that the actual, it says post, it says example. It doesn't actually have a real place. The target is 127.0.0.1. So all this is pretty generic. If you don't have it like this, if you actually have it sent from a request, it fills the host for you. So that's actually nice to know. So when we come into here, we're going to see there's positions. Okay, so the positions themselves, you can see these little green boxes. Those are the positions themselves. What those are is that's where you're going to insert your payload. So that's where you're going to, if this was and I'll show you right here. I think we have one here. Yep. So here's our username, Bob, and our password, Bob123. Well, since we've set these as our positions, that's actually where we're going to insert a username and a password, or it's going to do it for us, I should say. Now, it's important that you understand how to change these so you can clear them. And you notice now nothing's green, so it won't know where to put a payload. And then if you hit auto, it's going to detect what you want, what it thinks you want. And if that's right, perfect. Username, password. Now, you can also clear them, and I could also go in here and say, okay, this Bob word, I want that added as a positional or as a parameter. And then this Bob123, I want that added. So you can do it however you want. It's important to know how to read it as well. So it's going to go from top to bottom, left to right. So what that means is it's going to start, let's say this host, you wanted to try a bunch of hosts. That would be the first one if you had it set. And then it would come down here to this one and then come to this one. It's important that you know how to read that because when you do your payloads, it's going to ask you payload set 1, 2, whatever. You have to know which one you're changing, okay? Or which one you're telling it to change. All right, so you can see I've already done part of this box. The reason for it was I was actually recording the video and I got a phone call from my bank saying fraud alert, which I get that like once a week, which is good, I guess, but it was me. I was the one using my bank. So, all right, so that's what we're going to do. Resource pool, this isn't important on Community Edition because you can see you can only have 10 requests at a time. But basically, what it's going to do, the resource pool, is allow you to, if you have a bunch of requests going on, if you're doing a large-scale test, it's going to allow you to set different pieces aside and actually categorize those resources correctly and accurately. All right. So that's important for you guys to know, only because if you do use the Pro Edition, it's going to allow you to keep your stuff much more clear and concise. Let's see here. So this is an example here of what it's going to look like when you're fuzzing for an endpoint. It's saying here, there's the site, and then word goes here. So that would be your actual parameter right here. It would say word goes here. You would select that, add it, and then whatever word list you give it, it's going to insert that word and send the request. Insert the word, send the request. Insert the word, send the request. And it's going to do this in a timely fashion. Now, I will tell you guys, if you guys have used Durbuster, GoBuster, Hydra, any of those tools that do these specific things, it is much, much faster to do that. But if you know your target well enough, this would be fine. And if you have time, this would be fine because this categorizes it and allows you to put it in a format that's very user-friendly and readable. All right, so positions. We've covered that. These are the positions. I don't know what just fell over there. My dog just did something. So these are the positions, and you can see it gives you a little GIF. It kind of shows you how you could clear them, you can add them, all that stuff I just talked about. So we're not going to get crazy showing you that. Let's see. So here, okay, so now we're into the actual attacks. So if we go to the, we're already on positions. So if we go to the positions, you can see there's attack types. There's sniper, battering ram, pitchfork, and cluster bomb. These are just nicknames for them, but they do actually somewhat represent what they do, so I will explain it to you. They're freaking idiots. All right, so sniper is the first and the most common attack type. So what this is, sniper can do one parameter at a time, okay? So if we have a username and a password, it can try one of them at a time. It can't do both of them, okay? So it's a very pinpoint, one attack at a time. So what that means is, let's say we knew the username was admin, we could set the username as admin and then use a word list to guess all the passwords, okay? And it would do one at a time, password, 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 right? So if you have two of them here set up, like username and password, it's not going to do what you think it would do, where it will try, okay, well, we gave it a word list, it's going to try the username and then the password. No, what it's going to do is try one at a time, and you'll see that here, what I mean. So if it's request one, username is burp, and password is exploited, okay? So this is telling us we have three words, burp, sweet, and intruder. Those are the three words in our word list. So you can see on username, it's going to try burp, sweet, intruder, but the password stays the same. It does not try anything in the password. And then it's going to flip around since we have two parameters, and it's going to try burp, sweet, intruder under password, but it's not going to try them under username. So you can see sniper is very dedicated to one parameter. It's not going to sit there and switch around. So it's a good attack if you know the username. If you don't know the username, you're probably most likely not going to try the same username list and password. And if you, for like username like this example they gave us, I don't see why you would do this specific thing, because what's the chances that if you already knew the password, it was exploited for some of these, why would you have it set as a parameter, if that makes sense? So hopefully that made sense, but basically I don't really like this example. That's kind of what I'm getting at. All right. So anyway, now it's saying it's giving you the actual formula to figure out how many requests it's going to do. It's pretty basic. Number of words times number of positions. So you can see here, they tell us we have three parameters and a word list containing 100 words. That's going to give us 300 total requests. Okay. So how many sets of payloads will sniper accept from conducting an attack? So how many sets of payloads? And I think it says it up here. Let's see if it does say it. Yep, we provide one set of payloads. So it's saying right here, how many sets of payloads? One. Sniper is good for attacks where we are only attacking a single parameter, A or nay. And that would be A, because it is good for single parameter attacks. All right, so now we're getting into battering ram. So this one is a little bit more useful for the specific use case that they showed us in the sniper, in my opinion. But to each their own. However you want to use these, as long as they work for you, and that's great. So like sniper, battering ram takes one set of payloads. So remember, one set, and that's it. Unlike sniper, the battering ram puts the same payload in every position. So this is good for looking for default credentials and things like that. So a lot of people know admin is a pretty common default credential on some software, application servers, things like that. Most people change them nowadays. They're getting a lot better about them. But back in the day, a lot of sysads and stuff and people that installed servers didn't change them. So it'd be admin as the login. Same with like your routers. When you buy a brand new router, that's usually the login, right? So that's what this is for. This is going to, you can see here, if the word is burp, sweet, and intruder, if those are our three words, it's going to do three requests. Burp, burp, sweet, sweet, intruder, intruder. So it's going to put them in the same parameters. It's not going to move them around at all. So let's see. It says here, if you have a word list with two words in it, admin and guest, and the positions in the request template look like this, what would be the body parameter of the first request would be? So that would be username equals, okay, and then I don't know if I have that actual character, but we'll give it a shot. We may have to do this. Copy, boom. And then we can just change these, and we know what it's going to be, right? Obviously, it's the first request is what they're saying. So since it's a battering ram, it's using the same 2 requests. Not really sure where they came up with the name battering ram for this, but it's all good. And it's going to be admin would be the first request, and it says it's not right. So that's interesting. What would the body parameters of the first request that Burp Suite sends be? Well, I would say it's going to be admin, but let's look at the hint here. Username equals payload and password. Maybe they don't want the dollar signs or the SOS type. Yeah, so they just didn't want you to have the actual thing in there, which is fine, whatever. Okay, so now 2 down, 2 more to go. Perfect. So now we have Pitchfork. This one is actually going to be a pretty useful one. This is one that you're going to see in use a little bit more. I think Sniper is the most common because most people are going for a specific thing, but this one can be used a lot more easily as well. So after Sniper, Pitchfork is the attack you're going to most likely use. So it has said it right there for me, actually. So now it may help you think of Pitchfork being numerous snipers running simultaneously, which is actually a good way to put it. So think about if a sniper is a spear, right? Well, Pitchfork has 3 spears on it, technically. So that's what they're saying, is it's going to be running 3 different things at a time, and it can run more than 3, I'm just saying in general. So our first word list will be usernames. So it contains 3 entries, Joel, Harriet, and Alex. Now let's say Joel, Harriet, and Alex have their passwords leaked, so we know their passwords. So this happens a lot. If like on Have I Been Pwned and things like that, it happens a lot where a large company might have credentials leaked. If that happens, let's say they had 10 people that lost their credentials got leaked. Well, you already know those leaked passwords, right? So you already know the username, you already know the password. Well, if you have them put in the same order on 2 separate lists, this will run them against it and see if it still is correct, if that leak still is real. So username, Joel, and then you can see the password is Jo31, Jo31. Username, Harriet, Emma18, Alex, Skill. So you can see it's going to do them in 2 separate lists, but it's going to do them in order. It's important to know that because if you don't know that, it's not going to try Joel and then try all the passwords. It's just going to do Joel's password and then whatever the first one is on the first list or on the second list and so on and so forth. Can you guys knock it off? Damn dogs. All right, so and then it asks me what is the maximum number of payloads, and it shows us here 20. And it's important to know that because of the fact that some people might try to use that to spray username and passwords. That's not what it is. That's what Cluster Bomb comes in. So Cluster Bomb actually is correctly named in my opinion, and so was Pitchfork, but Cluster Bomb is exactly that. It's going to spray in all of the parameters. So what that means, or the positions, however you want to say it. So use the same word list as before. You got Joel, Harriet, Alex, and then the passwords is Jo31, Emma1815, and Skill. But this time, we don't know which password belongs to who, so we use Cluster Bomb. Now, username Joel, password Jo31, username Harriet, password Jo31, username Alex, password Jo31, and so on and so forth. So you can see that it's going to start spraying them in all the positions to see if they add or if they equal out and you get their password. Now, I will tell you, if you're used to doing this with something like Hydra or something on Linux, small list is not that bad, right? But if you did this same thing like you did a rocku.txt file, this would take forever. Okay, so I will tell you that. This will take a long time. So I wouldn't necessarily compare this to those type of tools for brute forcing, but if you are doing a small scale or you know, like you do have actual password leakage, you can use those smaller sets of passwords and stuff to figure it out, but you're not going to be able to do the large scale, just random attacks like you would. Well, you could if you had the time, I guess, but all right, so how many requests will Intruder make using these payload sets in a cluster bomb attack? So the first set contains 100 lines, second set contains 2 lines, and third 30 lines. So this is just 100 times 2, 200 times 30. What is that, 6,000? All right, boom, perfect. And I don't know why they have you do that math. It's not really that important. It's just, I guess, letting you know that it's going to take a while. Not sure, but all right, so now we have Intruder payload. So again, it says that was a lot of theory. Perfect. Yep, great. So now we're going to actually start diving into this. So switch over to the payload subtab. This is split into 4 sections. Correct. We've got that here. All right. So now when we use an attack type that only allows for a single payload, boom, the drop down menu shows only one payload. We got that. We know that, right? So now it says here, it's just walking us through it. Payload type, you can add a bunch of different stuff. This is actually really good to know because if you're only doing numbers, numbers is there for you. You don't have to make a list of 1 through whatever. Brute forcer, character, blah, blah, blah. The username generator, I've never really messed with the username generator, so I don't know if it comes up with good usernames. You can make rules that add it to it and stuff like that. But all right, so now you can see here you could actually add your own if you just entered a new thing. We'll just say Bob and then add it, and you can make your own real quick if you knew how much it's, if you knew your users, you could make it real fast yourself. So let's see. And you can see here payload processing. You can add rules into this. So what that means, and they give you a good example here, is you could actually add a rule that says if something matches a regex, then don't try it. It's not worth it. So like if you're using a pre-made word list that you already know has some weird characters in it, skip them, that type of thing. So it saves you some time. The payload encoding, you can see it URL encodes these characters, so it does that by default. I didn't tell it to do that, but you can say, hey, don't URL encode these. But we usually want to keep the URL encoding typically, and that's just so that we don't get blocked. Which payload type lets us load a list of words into a payload set? Okay, so which payload type lets us load a list of words? That would be simple list. Which payload processing rule could be used to add characters at the end of each payload? So that's actually a really cool thing you can do here. So rule type, add suffix or prefix, whichever one you want. But so this is a really cool rule that I'm glad they brought up because I forgot to bring it up. But basically, let's say someone loves the Atlanta Braves, right? You could say, I want the word Atlanta and I want the word Braves added after every one of these variations or before every one of these variations, and it will add that. So let's say you're doing a password list and it's 1 2 3 4 5 6 password, Braves, whatever. You can then add that word into that password every single time. So it kind of almost makes you make your own word list a little bit, and it's very good, useful information if you know your target. All right, so this one here, I've already got the task file on our box. You can see we're going to try and gain access to the support portal, support/login. So if I go, and I'm purposely keeping these here for you guys so that we don't have to wait for the list because it will take a while. So if I go to support and login, you can see this is, we're already logged in, so we'll log out real quick. All right, so this is the username, password. So what we would do in this instance to capture this is we would put Bob, and then Bob123 would be your example. So we'd hit login. Okay, it wouldn't go to that. We would have proxy on, our Burp Suite proxy. Make sure you have it on, and then that's what this request capture is right here. Okay, and I'm gonna still walk you guys through it, but it takes a while just because I'm using a VM and so on and so forth all the way through. So now you can see the zip file contained 4 different things. We're going to use the username and password. So you can see here's Bob123. That's what it captured for us, right? So we had sent this over to Intruder. We now set these as our parameters that we want the payload to go into. The payloads here, payload 1, which is this first one, Bob, the username, we have it set. We loaded my dog just came up to me. We loaded this here as username.text, and when we load that, it auto-filled all these usernames, right? Then we go to payload 2, and we loaded these passwords.text. Now, when we did that, it auto-filled all these passwords as well, okay? So that's what we did with that one, and then it says here, activate the Burp Suite proxy, try to log in, catching the request in your proxy. We did that. We're good. We sent it to that. All right. We've uploaded the word lists. We're good there. And this walks you through it, but it's pretty simple. Then you'd hit start attack, okay? And when you start the attack, like I said, it'll take a little bit. This one is right here. This one here is actually what it's going to look like. So it's going to go through. It's going to say, okay, payload 1, that's our user list. Payload 2's our actual attack or password list. But keep in mind, this is a pitchfork attack, so it's going to actually go through them, but it's not going to try every category. It's not a cluster bomb. So what we're looking for, this is kind of interesting because you got to know what you're looking for, is we're looking for the length to change. The reason for this is because all these requests take the same amount of time because they're failing, right? A successful request is going to take less time because it succeeded and went right through. It didn't take any time. So you see this one takes, it's the only one that takes less time. Okay, so that's probably our password, right? So m.rivera and let me in 1 is probably our password. Let's try it. So we have m.rivera, let me in 1. And if you look at that, we're right in. Perfect. So we didn't have to do anything. It let us right in. So we've beat that challenge. We're already in. We've got in. So now comes another fun one. So this one's actually really fun. So what this is it wants us to click on one of these. Okay, see the support tickets 6. What we're looking for is we're looking for this right here, insecure direct object reference, and we covered this in one of our other boxes. But what we're looking for is, can we change this 6? And if we can, what can we change it to get other tickets that don't belong to us? So now, it'll tell us here. You can see here, this is what I've done here. I've already done this, and you can see if we go to Burp Suite, we'll set it up for you here. All right, so you can see here the positions, we changed it to this 6, and we said that's the position we want. When you come here by default, it'll actually have the cookie set up. I didn't want that cookie changing. I wanted just that 6 changing. And you can see it's a sniper attack, so that's the first question since we're only doing one parameter. All right, and then here we go to payloads, and we changed it, if you notice, from payload type, from word list or simple list to numbers. We said we want 1 to 100, and we want it to step 1 time each time. Hit start attack, and boom, you get this here, and you can see, you notice the status code changes. So there's 0, so now we can open up this support ticket. We know 6 is one of them, obviously. We hit 0. Okay, that's didn't work, but it says it counts. So now we keep scrolling down. We got to find the other 200 code ones. Here's one, 47. Okay, and there's different ways to actually go in and do this. This is just the one I like because I can visually see it. Let's see. That's something about registering a complaint. That's not the flag we're looking for, so we're looking for a flag. 57. Okay, let's try that one. And we're looking for an actual flag, apparently. We keep getting hacked, so we're in the middle of transferring our public, blah, blah, blah. Can you please check why this is? So this would be an interesting one, actually, because that tells us right there basically some information about how they're getting hacked. So that would be important. There's 78 and 83. Okay, so we'll try 78 and 83. And you can see that's nothing. And we're looking for a flag here. So, and there's 83, there's our flag. So we know our flag is in there. And we're gonna just now copy it. Jesus, my dog is loud as hell. And hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Basically, we're just changing the type of attack to... crap, I misspelled something. Let's try if that's an L, maybe. Yep, that was an L. Okay, perfect. So now we beat that one. We got the flag based on our IDOR attack, which we've covered in previous boxes. But there you go. That's an easy one, right? So now we're going to do a little bit more complex one. So here it says, let's start by catching the request admin login. So I actually haven't done this one. So we can close these, discard. I don't want to keep them in memory. So you can see you can keep them in memory, and then you could separate them in your resource pools, what it's talking about. So we'll go ahead and we'll turn on, we'll keep Burp Suite off for a sec because I want to capture the login. Okay, so now admin login. Okay. So now we got the admin login. Now I don't know if we want to keep the... Yeah, we'll go ahead and try and log in. We'll just try Bob. 123 will be the password. But we want to turn on our Burp Suite here first. We want to log in. It's obviously stuck. We go to Burp Suite, go to proxy. Here's our login, right? So now we're going to go ahead and Control I, send that off to Intruder. Now here we are. It filled our host for us. Positions. Now you notice the positions are different. We have a login token, a cookie session, a username, and a password. Well, first things first, we notice, and it'll tell you here, we're going to have to make a macro because if you do this, so you would test this a few times, but every time you test it, this cookie session and the login token is going to change. So we need to get a new one every single time because if we use the previous one, it's not going to let us in because it has a unique one every time. So we need a unique one. So what we're going to do is we're going to clear these first. We just want to change Bob and the password. We don't want the login token and the cookie session. And the reason for that, we'll show you here in a sec. So we sent the request there. All right. So now the payloads, I believe if I remember correctly, it wants us to do load in the same username and password list. Okay, so we'll load in the username. And then, didn't I select 2? Okay. Why is it not letting me change it here? Okay, so there's, we'll clear these out, I guess. I'm not sure why it's not giving me the other one. So we'll add that one. And then we'll add that one. There should be 2 payloads here. Oh, it's because we're on sniper attack. Duh. All right. So now payloads, simple list. We're good there. Now we need to change it to 2. Load this to passwords.txt. Boom. All right. So there we have our payload set. So that's actually really basically the exact same layout we did with the previous one. But now, because we need to change this cookie session and the login token every single time, we need to send a GET request to pull a new cookie and a new login token every time we do this request, okay? So if we don't do that, what's going to happen is basically we're going to use the same one. It's going to say, no, you're the same person over and over trying this again. So now you can see it's telling us to switch over to the project options, okay? Select the sessions tab, which we're here. Scroll down to the bottom. Here's the macros, right? And we're going to go ahead and add a macro, okay? And you can see here's some of our actual requests. So we want to hit the admin login one, okay? So with the so we're gonna hit okay. That's the macro we want. Okay, complete that. So now that we have a macro defined, we need to set session handling. Okay. But see, that's a post. We want that to be a get. So I'm not sure why we didn't have a get request there. Okay, we never recorded the get request, I guess. I'm not sure. So we need to remove this and actually pull the get request. That's fine. No, I don't want to proceed. I want to cancel it. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually, that's fine. Whatever. I need the actual get request from it. So we will go ahead and hit enter. We'll just go ahead and hit enter on that. It's probably because I already was at the site. So here's the admin login get request. We will go ahead and hit send that to there. All right, let's forward it. All right, so now we've got the positions. Boom, boom, boom. So there's our get request. So that's what we need to make the macro. So now we'll go here, add the macro. Here's the get request for the admin login. Perfect. Okay. So because I had already bypassed that get request. So now, in here, they have a cool little gift. It shows you here, add, hit the get request. Boom. Okay. Boom. So, and then they have you name it. You can name it whatever you want. We'll name it get request. Doesn't matter what you name it. Hit okay. Okay, there's our macro. Now, Now that we have macro defined, we need to set session handling rules that define how the macro should be used. So still in the sessions tab, which is where we're at, right? It says here a new one. Whoops, skipped a step. Add a new rule. So we need to add a new rule that tells us what to do with this, right? So we'll just leave it at rule 1. It doesn't matter what it is. So it tells you find a description. We can name it whatever we want. Go to scope. We want to make sure it's only an intruder because we don't need it doing all this other crap, right? So then in the URL scope, we want to use the suite scope. So what this is, it's going to use the same scope that we've already set, which is that one IP address, which we've already done. Because I set my global scope every time I log in on Burp. And then here's another GIF showing you the steps. All right. Now we need to switch back over to the details tab. Click on the rules selection and run a macro because we need to, okay, thank you. We need to use the get request and add that macro. So now we want that macro right there. Okay. Run macro get request every time we do that. Now, so basically now it's going to override our parameters in our intruder request before we send them. This is great because it means that our login token and session cookies added straight into our request. Okay, so now we need to say this. Select. We should restrict which parameters and cookies are being updated before we start our task. Of course we should. So now we go to this one. Whoops. So we go ahead and hit OK. And now we need to actually edit, like I said, what it's going to do. So click the add. Okay, now we need to switch back to the details tab and select the rules action. So we need to go back in here, edit it, details tab, and we need to, the action we've already run, select update only, so we need to edit this. Okay, so the macro is fine, but we need to add what we want to fill. So update all parameters except for, so then click edit, and we need to say the username and the password. So enter a new item text field login token. So we need to say, okay, we've got, for some reason I was going to do it the opposite way. They want to do it this way. Update only the following parameters. So we'll go ahead and do that. We'll say we need the login token. And this makes sense, right? We need the login token to be fresh. And then we need the actual, and this will auto detect it. So, and then login token, and then we'll say select update only the following cookies. I'm not sure what it's saying. So now session, hit add. I'm going to add them both. It's telling me to add them separately, so we'll just do it separately. So login token, update the following, enter a new item text field login token, press add, then close. I'm not sure why it has me close it. Then select update only the following cookies. Oh, okay, I see what it's saying. It's saying separate them. Update current request with cookies from session. Update only the following. So it's just having me separate them, which is fine. And then we'll say session, and then add, and then close. So now it's going to update just these. It's not going to update our other parameters, which is important because if it did update your other parameters, you're going to change your password or your username and password every single time, and then you're kind of screwed. Hit OK, OK, boom. Okay, so now we can go into Intruder, or we should be able to, and we should be able to run this. We have our payload. Make sure I'm on the right one here. We have our payload, and we should start the attack. I don't know how long this is going to take. Hopefully not super long. But again, we're going to be looking for the length here. What I mean by that is we're looking for the length of time that these requests take. I will tell you, it says here, because you notice they're all slightly different. We're looking for a dramatic difference. I'll tell you that. Okay. And if we find it, we'll go ahead and you can see it's going pretty quick, but at the same time, if you guys are familiar with brute forcing, this is very slow. All right, so here's one that's 656. We'll try this real quick, and I'm just writing it down so I don't forget. And then what we'll do is go back to the site, and we'll say turn off Burp Suite, and we'll try and see if this is the right password. Nope, I guess not. So that's fine. That, or I typed it wrong. O.Bennett, Bella1, okay. And I may have typed it wrong, but that's fine. O.Bennett, make sure that's spelled right. And Bella1. Yep, that's probably not the right password. Okay, thanks. And hopefully that didn't expire and then stop my responses, which it looks like it did. It looks like the machine actually expired, which stops my responses, but you guys get the gist of it. It doesn't ask for the password anyway. I'm not gonna, oh no, it's actually still going. Okay, so it didn't actually expire. Perfect. It's just taking forever. So you guys can see why I did the previous ones beforehand, because this actually takes forever. Now it's frozen. I'm not really sure what's going on. And this is the problem with doing our... you may need to refresh the login page before entering the credentials. Okay, let's try that. But for some reason my machine's frozen. I'm not really sure what's going on. We'll exit split view, show split view, see if it reloads it. I'm not sure why my machine's frozen. Either way, that's what we're looking for. Those are probably the right credentials, but I need to refresh the page. But for some reason, my machine just crapped out on me. I have no idea. So I'm not going to do that. And then here it says bonus question optional. And this is just telling you use Intruder to automate the column enumeration of the Union SQLi in the repeater extra mile exercise. So what this is saying is simply go back to the SQLi, Union SQLi in the repeater extra mile exercise and try and do this. Try and use it to actually edit those for you. And the whole point of that is so that you get practice with Burp Suite. That's all it is. So we actually completed the box, but it wants you to go try that. And that's all it is. All right, so there's our box, guys. Hopefully that worked out for you. I really wish it wouldn't have crapped out so we could have seen the credentials at the end log in to show you guys, but the rest of it should be fine. You should be able to figure all that out. And hopefully that you guys learned something. This box I feel like is a very good hands-on one because it helps you understand. The macro might get confusing for you guys, but it's doing is saying only change these parameters when I try to log into the site. That's all it's saying. It's a very simple process with non-so-simple steps. So hopefully you guys understand everything, and hopefully you guys are enjoying these, and I'm going to try and keep pumping them out. I'm feeling way better now. If you guys can't tell, I'm not sick anymore, and I'm doing way better. So hopefully you guys are enjoying them. If you do, hit that sub button, like the videos, guys, and I'm going to keep trying to do these as often as I can. So thanks, guys.